Hi, I really appreciate the fabulous focus that Dr. Suzuki is making on education. That is obviously a lot has to go on, but I'm not hearing about two major stumbling blocks in educating the public about science, and that's that the public really doesn't understand that science is done by consensus, and that science has been politicized. Both the right and the left are guilty of this. If you don't like the science, you go off, make yourself a think tank, and come up with your own science. Can I hear something about that?
Yes. Well, you're absolutely right about that. Let me just back up a bit. I sat for 4 years in Canada on this. We have an organization called the Science Council of Canada that's supposed to look at the big picture for science and society. We looked at education in Canada. Now, in Canada, education is a provincial affair, and I'm sure it's the same in the United States. It's a state affair. And so for a federal organization to look at science education in Canada, it ruffled a lot of feathers because people said, hey, you're coming into our turf now. But in fact, the educators welcomed this overview, and what we came up with after 4 years was every school child should have 1 hour of science education from kindergarten to grade 12 every school day of the year. And we showed that it could be done. It wouldn't be economically disastrous, but nothing ever came of that. And that's the target that we need is for science to be a part of every school child's education from kindergarten through grade 12. That's not happening. What is happening, though, is that we don't look to science as the most credible way of describing the state of the world. We just, corporations see science as a threat, and so they have set up these right-wing think tanks. The fossil fuel industry has set up a group that is fighting against the scientific evidence on global warming. And so the public is left being very, very confused about what's going on. And I, as someone in the media, have seen when we have discussed the issue of global warming, we put somebody on, the scientist on, who says, yes, global warming's happening, we've got to do something right away. And then in the name of balance, we then put someone on who says, no, there's no evidence that it's going on. And to the public, it seems as if it's still a controversy. The scientists haven't figured it out yet. But the reality is 99% of the climatologists are on side saying global warming's happening, we got to do something. A handful of scientists, most of them paid by the fossil fuel industry, are saying no, and yet the media portray it as if it's 50-50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay,
thanks.
Thanks for your call. And that's a concern. I think, David. When we present, or when I present here on Open Line, this issue of global warming, I may present a skeptic now and then, but I make the point repeatedly that this is not an argument anymore.
Yep.
I mean, this is 99%, as you say, of climate scientists. Global warming, due in great measure to human activity, is a serious, serious problem, right?
Yeah, I think what we should be doing more as journalists is saying, excuse me, but, we're going to put you on, Mr. Expert, but where are you getting your money?
Mm-hmm. Trace
the money. For years, the tobacco industry had its own scientists who said, no, there's no evidence that smoking causes cancer. And it was a very effective ploy. There's a very good group called, a website called DeSmog Blog. DeSmog Blog is all about tracking down the skeptics, the science skeptics, and showing where they're getting their money. And it's a very revealing website. And a lot of these guys are saying, we're going to sue the hell out of you. And the people at DeSmog Blog are saying, bring it on, sue us. And we're going to dig into your files in order to counter you. And nobody has dared to sue them. It's a very good website that shows all of these skeptics, most of these skeptics are being paid by industry.
DeSmog Blog. Some I think are very sincere, but you're right. Most are probably industry related. Some of my listeners seem to have been convinced by some of these industry think tanks that indeed it is the scientists who have a political agenda here. How would you respond to that?
I don't get it. I mean, scientists go and do their work. It's true that scientists try to do their work often where they see money. If there's government money or corporate money to do certain things, scientists will often go to get the grants to do that. But in fact, there have been a number of books written showing that the Bush administration has politicized science tremendously, altering scientific reports so that they are not as strong on issues like climate change. I don't get what the scientific agenda is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The political agenda of scientists is. I'd have to see what the claims are.
All right. Let us go back to our calls here with Paul. Hi, Paul.
Good morning, Fred, David.
Hello.
David, you stole all my thunder.
Good.
I have very
out there
little left
thundering.
to say, except that the concept of an hour a day in primary school and middle school, etc. I mean, I can't think of a better way to approach this. I mean, I happened to grow up in a family that was scientifically literate. I don't mean that, we all turned out to be scientists, but, you could have a discussion about DNA and everybody knew roughly what you were talking about.
Exactly.
It was carried forth kind of haphazardly through school, which was private Catholic, but, and I think pretty rigorous, and I was terrible at some things. I mean, chemistry, for the love of God, I can't, I still can't figure that out. But my point is that it's like reading, as you said, writing, arithmetic, all that kind of stuff. If you get kids, not just go collect some leaves and press them on paper. I mean, that's a good start if you're, 7 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I just think that we, somewhere around 6th grade or something, it seems to derail. Now, I don't know.
David, there's a feeling out there, I think, among the general populace that somehow science is more difficult to understand than our other intellectual pursuits.
That's right. And the other part that's terrible is that people have this idea, well, if you're no good in math, you'll never do science. Now, it is true, to be a scientist, you really need math. But math, for the vast majority of people, often becomes a block. Oh God, that math stuff. I'll never be any good at science. That's absolutely untrue. I mean, if you get excited about science and want to go into science, the math part will come, and it'll be a part of your training. But science is an activity, as our caller says. To me, a child who finds a pupa of a butterfly and then brings it into the classroom, and the children watch that pupa eventually open up and give rise to a butterfly, that is one of the most profound experiences you can have. And that sense of wonder and awe is at the very heart of what science is all about. Looking at nature and finding out how nature does things is at the heart of science. But too often we teach science as this cut and dried thing. This is an experiment. This is what you have to do, and
yes.
And it's boring, and it turns kids off.
Right.
We're not teaching science the right way. But I think the challenge is that education is a state matter, and what you get are, if you want to teach biology, the only way to teach biology is that evolution is a part of biology. And I can't believe in the United States the terrible battles that happen then. You've got to teach creationism or intelligent design. Creationism and intelligent design are not science. It just doesn't belong in biology. Evolution is a fact. It's not a theory. It's a fact. We see evolution going on. The only thing that is questionable is, how does evolution happen? How did life originate? Those are scientific questions.